Welcome back to the Kingsway Podcast.
Welcome.
Good to have you back, Ryan.
It's good to be here. Good to have you back.
Getting our schedule back on track.
Yes.
That's the best of our abilities. We do have camp coming up, so don't hold us accountable for next week.
We'll maybe have an episode next week, but it might also just be an error screen for an hour. So be prepared.
We know, too, if you've been trying to watch our live stream on Kingsway, that we have a couple pieces that are broken. So we are aware of that, and just know that the last couple weeks, Ryan has been behind the scenes, like fighting through the walls of the church and technology that seems to be where the devil is in the details. So
don't worry. I'm buying the most mediocre stuff I can to fix it. Just kidding.
Well, Ron McNaught, I'm looking at you. You asked me, so now we know.
I'm so sorry. But it has been really bad for 2 weeks, and so now hopefully we're fine again. I'm gonna do some tests this week and see.
Yeah, well, it's always the fun thing when you find out right after, right in the middle of the service.
Yeah, it would be really great if I weren't both our lead tech guy for those kind of issues and the worship leader.
You're like trying to do this. How many hats can I wear in a day?
And
how many times can I wear?
I've been working on my omnipresence, but I can't even be in two places at once yet. So I'll try better later.
Well, I am excited for today. And you've seen the topic. You understand maybe a little bit of the discussion we're going to try to have. I think it's a really healthy.
Maybe somebody's playing this in the car and you haven't seen the topic.
Yeah, maybe you haven't.
Maybe you're that one person.
You just click on whatever's new and you just let it ride. I
Point
like
and
that.
shoot.
Ryan,
but for the rest of you,
Ryan, this is really close to your heart. Obviously, I think this is something you and I have really tried to cultivate together.
Yes.
I think we've spent a lot of time, even maybe discussions is like the healthier term, but like definitions. We have like a value around like the message never changes, but the method does. And so some of this has been a little bit of that, like keeping the message of the gospel, the message of like, the Great Commission, whatever you want to call it, the Ecclesia Church, especially for our like large gatherings at the center of what.
Yeah.
And it has morphed a lot. Like it has changed.
So we're coming at this from the side of church leaders. This is the bias we bring in is we're church leaders, service designers to an extent, people who work in a local church and try to put on church.
Well, we're just like pure like curators of like old, like there's like lots of pieces.
We aren't people who don't love church but are making church. We're people who love church and are trying to make church at our location with our gathering, our local gathering. But you may be coming from this almost certainly as somebody who does not design services.
Yeah, or never has gotten to be in the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
To make one come together.
But with the 1,000 denominations we have today, that's a guess. I don't really know. And then about 1 bajillion non-denominational churches. You are in a similar business if you're a church attender or have been or want to be again. And the side that you come from is probably something colloquially known as church shopping.
Look that word up. Pause it.
Colloquially, COLOQ wheelie.
Jeez Louise.
Colloquially.
That's how Coke Willard was made.
Trevor Colloquial. The side that you probably come from is the church shopping side. Okay, I want to go to church, but I have a few options of how to go to church. Either go to a new church every time and never know what I'm doing and whatever. I don't think that's the best way to do church, but we can talk about that more later.
Yeah.
You go where your family, your friends, your fiance or wife or husband, your whoever
or
has
your
gone.
Kids' friends.
Or your kids' friends.
Yeah, just like wherever
yeah.
is most easily connected sometimes.
Yeah. Or you go and you shop around. You decide we will try these 6 to 8 churches before settling on one. And if in 6 to 8 churches we don't find the right church, we'll keep looking.
And I want to be sure as we start this, like we know there's quite a few people that, you move over the summer or maybe there's some people that, maybe you don't even know why sometimes when you travel or you're on vacation or you get to go to a family and you go with their church, like something feels off or something feels really right or something's totally new. And there can be a lot of questions around even like what you're expecting to find when you come into a church.
What is church? What makes it valuable? And so you kind of walk around shopping for churches. You're right. This can happen when you move Sometimes people have like church hurt or a bad experience somewhere or some reason that they need to leave a church and find another one in the area.
Yeah.
I don't really want to go into that, but like sometimes people are in that.
That's the
that
new
happens.
service flow, whatever you want to call it. You're experiencing something for a first time.
So you at some point have, if you're listening to this, or you've had a friend who have probably been church shopping at some point. And our whole goal in this episode is to help you church shop the best. It's not to tell you that you should be church shopping because you're at a church, but maybe it could be 5% better.
No.
So you need to go. That's not what we're saying at all. But the moment that you're looking for a new church or helping somebody else look for a new church, what even is it that you look for? What is the good thing? Now, this also applies to people who are currently at a church.
Yeah.
If you've been at a church for a week or two, it's like, okay, I like it or I don't like it. The people are nice or they're not nice or whatever. But once you get in a year, 5 years plus, it's very, very, very easy to treat it like a spectator sport and to be like, I rate church today a 6.8.
Yeah.
But church a month ago, there's this one Sunday, it was like a 9.5.
Yeah.
Dave Portnoy up in here rating churches not crispy enough crust on this service or whatever. Even at the same church.
Knows the rules.
One service. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. That would be really funny. John Christ needs to do that. But even if you're at the same church all the time, it can be this service was good, this service was less good. It can be this preacher is usually good, this preacher is usually less good.
Or they weren't here that day or whatever.
Yeah, we're on the backup preacher, but actually I like him better or whatever. So easy to play favorites and here's what happens when you don't examine your own criteria.
Yeah,
you can fall into wrong thinking about church. So if I think about church, I'm thinking about spiritual things. If I examine my own criteria, but if I don't, is my criteria just entertainment?
Yeah.
This preacher is more boring. Or I remember a very vivid memory growing up. I was about 8 or 10. Our church's senior pastor, preacher guy, whatever, had just left, resigned, and headed somewhere else, took a new job or moved or something. And we are going through these different preaching candidates. That's the worst.
That'd be really hard.
Like, here's a sermon. What's the point of the sermon? To judge the preacher? But at those times, that's literally kind of the point. It's like, did you do a good job? And so there was a guy who didn't end up being our preacher, who was known as Crying Brian. Because he would cry at the end of every sermon.
Every single
As he's
one.
like getting to that heartfelt point, he would cry. And there's a time that he cried. I still remember this. We're in the Bridgeton Community Center because we're a mobile church at that point, not Kingsway, where I grew up in St. Louis. And so one back wall where the stage is it's a square kind of room. There's a stage on one side. We're all facing the stage. And on our left side from the audience, there's just a wall of bright windows. And it's 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning when we have church. And so I remember Crying Brian preaching, starting to get teary, getting heartfelt. And this long rope of snot coming out of his nose and just the windows behind him glaring and reflecting through the like mucusy thing. I think that was the day everybody was like, I don't remember what you talked about. I just remember that grossed me out. And if for some reason Crying Brian is listening to this, I think you're actually a good preacher and a good pastor. And I'm sorry that you had to interview at our church like that and be subject to a do we want you as our preacher moment like that.
That is so hard.
Yes.
And especially as someone that preaches all the time. I like hear that and I cringe. Not because I don't think that there's a place and a time to evaluate good teaching or preaching, but it is always hard. So let me ask you some maybe questions about how you think about services, because both of us have kind of grown up around the church for a long time.
Around our own specific kinds of churches, but yeah.
And I think, though, that there's a level of, like, what you come to expect.
Yes.
And what you are kind of not expecting to have happen. The way I attribute this or I connect this or I use as kind of a template in my mind, I don't know if this is going to work completely as well as I want it to.
I'll let you know if it's good or bad.
But I think it helps me a lot is it feels like you're invited to someone's dinner table for a meal.
Yeah.
And Sunday morning is that potential meal. And some churches are larger and some churches are smaller. What are we eating? What are the seating arrangements?
Was it tasty? Was it nutritious?
How quiet is it in the building? How much are we going to talk? How deep are we going to talk?
Do they talk with their hands or not?
And I'm going to be asked to talk.
Yeah.
Am I just going to have to listen? How long is this meal going to take? Mm-hmm. Is there any food that I will enjoy, or is it all food that I should probably eat, like vegetables, but nothing actually?
Yeah.
And I think at a certain point that can break, any illustration can break down.
Yeah.
But it feels very similar to like if you just got randomly invited to someone's dinner table and now you're bringing a couple people or someone else there, but like there's a lot of variables that you're hoping work out.
let me take this food illustration a little bit further.
Okay.
Let's say you're going to a restaurant.
Okay.
And you're picking restaurants with your family and friends. What makes a good restaurant? Well, is the food good?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like a bare minimum,
okay,
right?
let's make some criteria. Does it taste good? Salt level and other spices and like satiate,
how filling is it?
Glutamate and whatever. Texture of the food. Is it plated well? What's the price like? Okay. And then you go to the restaurant and it tests your criteria.
And it's the environment, all of that,
The
right?
restaurant I'm thinking of is... I'm so sorry I'm saying this name.
Outing everywhere.
The restaurant I'm thinking of is in San Antonio on the river, on the boardwalky kind of river thing that goes through the city.
Yeah.
I just watched a video on it last night. The restaurant is called Dick's Last Resort. Good fried pickles.
Wow.
Good steak. But the restaurant is known for being rude. Like that's their thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those like, we're going to bully you as you're at this restaurant.
Yep.
That wasn't one of the criteria I was thinking of.
I don't think I want necessarily to be bullied while I eat my burger.
Yeah. And so, like, not all criteria made in a vacuum are great for the thing you're doing. It's also the experience and, like, what is it like? How does it make me feel, atmosphere, or whatever. So we can come up with all these criteria. Now, for one of my favorite words, epistemology.
Yeah.
How do we know what we know?
Have we been made mad?
Have we been asking the right questions? How would we know if we asked the right questions? So, like, this is what I'm trying to say, evaluating our own criteria. And this is one of the phrases. I have 2 interns this summer, and I've been talking with them and using this phrase. So we're specifically worship ministry field, and so, like, they're worship ministry interns.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about this squishy field of worship ministry. It's music. Music is perfectionistic. You really got to nail it. You can't just hit 70%
there is a right
of the notes.
and a wrong note.
Yes. Yeah. And then it's also spiritual, which is not necessarily as like scientifically, inarguably right or wrong in some of those ways. Anyway, so this is the phrase I've been using. Okay, so excellence in our musicianship for Sundays is a good thing. Is that the top criteria?
Yeah.
Here's how you evaluate it. Wouldn't it be a shame? This is the phrase. Wouldn't it be a shame if people showed up looking for God and all they found was an excellently crafted band? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can kind of, in that question, hear the answer I'm going to point to. Wouldn't it be a shame if people showed up looking for God and all they found was entertaining preaching?
Yeah.
Or convicting preaching about their own sin, but it brought them 0 steps closer to a relationship with the living God?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it be a shame if people showed up looking for God and all they did was like be told to love each other or do good works or be nice to your server or whatever? Not that anything I just mentioned is bad.
Yeah, it's like, what if they came to that family meal and all they did was left full? They didn't feel like a family.
What if they came to a Thanksgiving meal at a new family, like you're marrying into a family or something, you go for the first time, and they have great mashed potatoes and they have great gravy and they have great sweet potatoes or whatever, and there's no turkey.
Yeah.
Or there's no meat at all. Maybe they're vegetarian. That's okay. I'm not saying anything against vegetarians. But it's
like, where's the sustenance?
Where's the main course? Where's the thing that actually tells me that we ate Thanksgiving dinner? Yeah. That's sort of what I'm talking about. So the criteria I often hear, actually, I'll ask you this. What criteria do you often hear from other people? Not what you're thinking about our services at Kingsway. What criteria do you hear from other people that seem to insinuate church was good or church was bad?
Yeah, I was trying to think of that because I do think there's like, we talk about maybe like this is an old school way to think about it.
Yeah.
In church world, but like outsiders, insiders, like a person that's not been around church for a very, very long time and is just looking to have their kids feel cared for, protected, safe, looking to feel welcomed, not looking to be put on the spot or have any awkward moments where they're like mandatorily asked to do things.
Yeah.
The church looks like it's prepared for them and inviting to them.
So sufficient detachment for the new person.
Yes, but also welcoming to the level of feeling like they were thought about.
Welcomed but not spotlighted.
But that's like an outsider's perspective.
Okay.
Like in my mind, that's a great thing if you're brand new to the church. And if you're not, but like as somebody that goes every week, we know that all of those things can become assumptions. Like they can become things that you just get used to. It's kind of like the person that's lives with the silver spoon. They don't know how the rest of the world has it. It's like you kind of just get used to everything flowing. And so what I'm basically saying is you can go and eat all the best foods that you just said and not have had one meaningful conversation with your family.
Yes.
And it can be a fantastic meal, but there's no family.
It wasn't you weren't as satisfied from feeling rewarded.
No.
You were just satisfied carnally, like
got
your stomach and your
to
taste.
Leave feeling full, but without what you really needed, which was the connection to the people that matter.
Yeah.
And then sharing that meal is actually a huge part of the satisfaction of it, right?
Yeah.
Like sharing a meal is much better. Ask yourself this: would you rather eat the best meal of your life by yourself, or like the third or fourth best meal with one person that you absolutely love? And you would take almost every time sharing the meal. And I think for me, that's where I say the insider for me, that like goes that it's thinking about it. So on the like surface level of what I feel like people are asking, I really do think people want to feel welcomed, to feel safe, to feel like there's space for them, and to feel like they have an opportunity to connect, engage, or be a part of it. I think that's what the service is like.
Can I summarize that in one word?
Yes.
I think what you're saying is people want to belong.
Yeah.
That they want to belong to the group, to the church, not just to the program or the service. Yeah. I didn't belong to Avengers Endgame when that came out, even though I went and saw it with 100 other people. And we yelled and we cheered and we laughed and we whatever. I didn't belong to Avengers Endgame, but I belong to Kingsway Christian Church.
Yeah.
And I belong during the service and I belong outside of the service. So like the community, the gathering, the original Greek word for church is ekklesia, which is the called out ones, or the assembly.
The assembly.
Sometimes people make too big of a deal out of the called out ones, like they're holy or special. That is literally what the word breaks down to mean. Ek, out of, Lesia, I don't know, the rest of it. But it was used just for gatherings of people colloquially. So like they may not have
the ones that have been invited. The ones that have been invited. That type
something
of
like
thing, or
that.
have accepted the invitation, something like that.
But like the belonging part of church, that God has brought you not just to attend some good content, not to attend Avengers Endgame, and it wasn't a good service if it wasn't Avengers Endgame, if it wasn't entertaining and inside references and full circle moments. But if you didn't belong there, then it wasn't good.
Yeah,
it wasn't enough,
and that feels like where the critical like eye starts to break down, because eventually, like what keeps you here needs to be evaluated. So like if all you're doing is coming back because the music is really good, if all you're doing is coming back because the sermons are I'm just learning so much, if all you're doing is coming back because my kids just love it. Eventually,
those are great things.
Those are great things. I'm not saying they're bad things. Eventually, though, that will that like piece of the puzzle may not fit as well anymore. Yeah, or like it may not be what you like. There's transitions in some of that, and like some weeks are just better than others. Like I don't,
like we had a whole month where Trevor didn't preach.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that was better than the others.
No, but it definitely was different.
So I think one of the examples I want to pull out is belonging and feeling welcome is like a thing that people look for in a church that's hard to find on Sunday number one.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you can be welcomed, but like never invited over to dinners or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can
in
be
the same place. It helps so much when
it really
sit
does.
in the same place.
That's a
every
pro
week.
church tip.
So,
but the other thing I think, for churches like ours, so I'm talking both mainline Protestant churches. What I mean by that is denomination churches that the denomination existed straight off of, I almost said Calvinism, but I mean Catholicism in the 1500s. The closest splinters off of that. So Lutheran, Presbyterian, Anglican, or Episcopal, those kind of churches where part of what was reformed was the sermon, biblical literacy. People need to know this stuff, that. And then a lot of churches of Christ, Christian churches like us, church growth movement churches like North Point, Andy Stanley, Life Church. A lot of those churches have a focus on content. Was the content good? For some of them, it's like it needs to be an hour long and 100 biblical references and footnotes. Some of them, it needs to be ultra modern research. Share with me the studies and TED Talk me into a slightly better life. But either way, it's like they had a guest preacher and they didn't do that well. I don't feel like I went to church today.
Yeah. And that's where I would say the outsider comes in with that. But then very quickly, I think you get to a place where you hopefully, where our conversations have led to, where we're asking, like, what are the ways that the best things can happen inside those services? Or what are the things worth continuing to try to cultivate, create, or, have the moments with that we can truly evaluate, okay, this is in God's hands to show up. We're just creating the moments, but really we need God to have a place to actually be the thing that initiates or interacts with each person.
Yeah. I'm going to bring in a new category and a slightly older category because we're not just talking about us or Baptists, us or Assemblies of God. We're talking about us and every kind of church out there.
Yeah, and so every service has some elements that are similar.
Including ultra-formal, high church, what some people call liturgical churches. For them, or somebody who grew up in a church like that, some of the criteria may be, did you do church right? Yeah. Did you follow the prescribed order? Not saying that if you do or don't, it's right or wrong one way or the other, that is the determining factor if you did or did not follow the order. One of the faults I see in that, I'm going to come back and talk about faults, hopefully about a lot of the traditions, where they can skew away from what I think makes any church gathered worship service a good service. Where a lot of high churches can fault is two main ways. One, that they have left... I'm going to give away the thing that I think makes a church service good. And I already kind of did in that other thing. Wouldn't it be a shame if somebody showed up looking for God and all they found was your favorite part about church?
Oftentimes the best answers are the most simple ones.
Yeah.
So
the thing that makes a church service good, whatever denomination, whatever style or preference or order of worship, is that it's helping you meet with God. Yes, that is a squishy answer to that, but there are 100 ways to answer that. But if it helps you realize that you are interacting with God, even if you don't see it, even if you don't hear it, if it helps you realize that God is walking with you, even if you don't see him or hear him, if it helps you realize that like your life can be lived with God like every day of your Christian life, if it helps you see the parts of the gathered worship service as directly interacting with God rather than mailing it off, I paid for priority shipping, so he'll get this part of the worship service in 1 to 2 days. If it realizes that you're interacting with God in the moment, then you did it.
And I think that's part of what people are looking for. They may not even just realize it.
Yes.
I think the thing that really comes back to is like, not to use like too many illustrations, but I feel like there's just a level of like, you already fall into this category of like, when you go to a movie, what do you want? Well, you want to get lost in a world. You want to get lost in a story. You want to have a thing that carries you away or connects you or makes you feel seen or
you actually get to belong because you forget that you're yourself.
And there's like a level of like teleportation into another world. And if that doesn't happen to a level that you like, you'll say that. That didn't really work for me. It wasn't really my favorite.
But you don't even know what you're saying, or you aren't like fully explaining what you're saying.
No,
that happens.
you can tell it's not an experience you could love.
Great illustration, because when you talk about a movie, it's drawing you into a world. If it's doing a good job of being a movie, it's drawing you into a world, making you forget that you're yourself.
Yep.
But it's false.
It's not the real thing. Yep.
It either was a moment in history that did happen and they're doing their best to artistically tell it, or it's fake.
Yep.
Guardians of the Galaxy never happened and never will happen.
Yep.
But with the church, with Christianity, it does happen. Okay, here's my scripture. And then I'm going to come back to my point about high churches and churches like ours and charismatic churches and whatever. The ways that we can all do church right and wrong, although that's big topics and categories.
I was going to say, here we go. Big
I'm about to shoot at everybody. Okay. This is Hebrews 12, 18 through 24. It's in 2 paragraphs. I'm going to set this up this way. It's in 2 paragraphs. First paragraph starts with, you have not come to a mountain. Second one goes, but you have come to a mountain. So listen to that divide. You haven't done this. You have done this. You have not come to a mountain that can be touched and that is burning with fire, to darkness, gloom, and storm, to a trumpet blast, or to such a voice speaking words that those who heard it begged that no further words be spoken to them, because they could not bear what was commanded. If even an animal touches the mountain, it must be stoned. The sight was so terrifying that Moses said, I am trembling with fear. So this is insider language from this thing talking about which mountain did Moses go up?
Sinai.
Mount Sinai. They're trying to meet with God, and God is so holy and perfect, and they are so rebellious and imperfect and messy and dirty that, like, the presence of God, they can't bear to hear him talk because they're being crushed.
He had a glow on him when he came down.
Yeah. Okay. You have not come to that mountain.
That's good. Because I've never been there either.
Yes, true. I haven't been to any of these mountains, literally. But you, not even necessarily speaking to people in Jerusalem or on this mountain, but he could. But you have come to Mount Zion, to the heavenly Jerusalem, the city of the living God. You have come to thousands upon thousands of angels in joyful assembly, to the church of the firstborn, which is Jesus, whose names are written in heaven. You have come to God, the judge of all men, to the spirits of righteous men made perfect, to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel. What is this saying about what makes church church? He doesn't say you've come to the physical Jerusalem.
No.
It says you've come to the heavenly Jerusalem. If you want to know more about that, go and read Revelation chapters 21 and 22.
Yep.
Go read Revelation chapter 4 and maybe 8 or 9, I think. That sounds about right. And 14, those sections. What is happening in those sections, and what's he talking about with heavenly Jerusalem? Well, every time you go to church and you're doing church right, you're in God's presence, not only and necessarily because God has come down to you, but because God has lifted y'all up to him.
Yep.
So there's a really great book, although it's so dense and heavy and it's translated from Russian, so whatever. But it's called For the Life of the World by Father Alexander Schmemann.
Oh my gosh, we have got some great words.
Sounds like a Pokemon. He pretty much talks about the church services and the tradition he grows up with, that the flow of the service isn't fast, happy songs to slow, sad songs to sermon to altar call. The flow of the service is like the book of Revelation. I was on an island. I was outcast. An angel showed up to me. Boom, I'm in heaven. Oh my gosh, there's a bus full of angels and there's this and that. And this guy's got all these eyes and whatever. You're teleported like a good movie. But it's real.
Yeah.
The heaven that you're teleported to and I'm not talking about like literal teleported. I'm talking about like in a metaphysical, spiritual, soupy, weird kind of way. You are lifted up from, if you're here in Mount Vernon, Missouri, to the heavenly Jerusalem, where everybody's worshiping God. People in Mount Vernon and people in Singapore and people in the Dominican Republic and people that died 1,000 years ago from the Black Plague and 2,000 years ago from the Roman Empire and however many years from now that we still have. You're joined together all in one place worshiping God. And so you're there and God's there.
Yep.
That's where you're really present to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so he talks about a lot of the beginning of the service is dismantling the chains that hold you to the ground.
Yeah.
That it isn't gravity. It's like the lies of our physical world.
Removing the veil. Yeah.
And then you get to go be with God and you hear the true words and you tremble and you get to share a meal with God. And then at the end of the service, you are lowered back down with a mission.
Yep.
So anyway, I say all that to say, not that you should be Russian Orthodox, and that's the right kind of worship.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are Russian Orthodox churches that fall into this, but the thing that happens in worship that makes it good or bad is that you meet with God. Maybe, okay, you can go this deeper vision of like, if your spiritual eyes are opened, you see that like God can talk to you and you can talk to God and God can talk through your neighbors in your row and God can talk through all this stuff. And you have this moment of closeness in a group with God and whatever. Maybe all that's true, but the bare minimum is like you're there with God. So a couple proofs. Look at the Old Testament. When are they worshiping and God is happy about it? When they're talking to God or relating to God through their worship.
Yep.
When are they worshiping that God is mad about it? When they're doing it to try to change God.
Or manipulate.
Or to a different God.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be a real spiritual being and whatever.
We can talk about that later.
Yes, but when they're unfaithful, like a marriage relationship, they're unfaithful to God. God's mad about it. When they're faithful to God, and faith is a good and big word here, God is giving all these gifts for free. We didn't do so well that we can fly up to heaven, Tower of Babel, and make God listen to us. God invited us. Our work to go along with God inviting us is faith to participate.
And I think that's part of when I think about when a service connects well with me. And part of our discussions over a number of years here is trying to cultivate services that do have, and as you talked maybe a little bit about this as we close, but like we have elements in our services that would be maybe even cross-denominational, like that would definitely be a little bit different than what maybe a natural Christian non-denominational church would be.
We have moments in our services that require no professional to do them.
Yes. And we also have some very liturgical moments that would be very like ancient in their rootedness. And then we also have like communion every week, which, the way we take communion is of course a uniqueness to our denomination at this point, but not so far removed from the way that it's observed.
It's pretty much like everybody else in the major things.
I try to think like when, because here's the other thing, Ryan, and you and I have talked about this, like we are in the service as much as we are doing the service.
Yeah.
And so there's a very different, like it's hard. It's like almost like trying to evaluate what it's like to be a fan and you're on the football field playing the game. Like it's like, I don't know how to, there's a difference there, right? Yeah. But I also know that like I'm also a huge fan of football. Like I'm also a huge, like I love God, I love what I do. And so for me, when I'm in a service and I feel like the service has been beneficial for me, oftentimes it is not a performative thing that catches me, if I believe it or not. It's an authentic thing sometimes, whether it's an authentic thing where I know someone is volunteering in a capacity inside of music that is scary and they're trusting, and I'm watching them just be used by God through their fear and believing that God's going to show up.
Yeah.
Whether I'm watching them be authentic in a prayer or in a way that they're singing that I know that line right now in line with their life is really hard to probably sing and believe, and yet they're doing it full-heartedly. Whether I'm watching someone lead, a prayer or a certain thing that I know their story, that they're still faithfully up there and they're still doing this thing and they're watching God move in their life, and then I look around the room, and oftentimes for me, I'm watching and looking how other people are participating in the service, and I'm watching them be humble or vulnerable, or even our church isn't overly expressive, but expressive that feels like a pretty large expression for them in their life. And I know their story, and I know their name, and I know how much God is moving. And so it stirs in me that communal belonging, but it also stirs in me of like my faith has my own journey. For me, most of the time when I walk out of a service that's been good, it's normally either a verse in one of the songs that I literally read the words as they're on the screen, and I was like, ooh, do I really believe that this week?
Or that's exactly what I needed.
Yes. Or, man, if I say that right now, I'm going to have to believe it, or I'm going to have to really be true about it. Or I don't know if I can right now, and that breaks my heart, and I almost need to be honest with God. I can't sing that line at the moment.
But then the moment you don't sing it, you're anatomically, you hear more quietly when you're singing.
Yep.
So the moment you stop singing and you have this moment to like try to be honest and true with God, your ears that God designed literally take in everybody else singing louder than they did before.
And it is reassuring and amazing. We do a pause silence section. That's probably some of the most helpful centering things.
No synth pads or anything like that.
It's so
just
good.
Full silence.
We almost just do it for me at this point because it's just so good for me to.
Can everybody just quiet down for a minute?
I just need to be quiet. But just to believe that God can speak in those moments almost more profoundly, I believe, than some of the things that I'm even going to try to teach or say.
So one other illustration to kind of help make this point. Some of my favorite YouTube videos and like videos to watch ever. Maybe this is an admission that I watch too many YouTube videos. But some of my favorite YouTube videos are like soldiers returning home and families singing.
Yeah.
Aren't those so lovely?
Oh yeah. Reunited surprises are the favorite. Right? Catches the first pitch, and it's his dad.
Yeah,
dressed up as the catcher.
Yeah, or equally like that. When similar moment, somebody finally is done with cancer treatments and they're cancer free, and they're driving home. They ring the bell, but they're driving home. And I've seen a couple of these people lined up on the street with signs when they get home and like cheering for him.
Yep.
Get ready for this phrase. Wouldn't it be a shame if you showed up to that rally on that street to see that kid cancer free? And all you saw were 100 excited people with signs.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be a shame if you like televised and got all this advertisement out there, put a clickbaity thumbnail on it, and had this video about a soldier returning home and seeing his mom or his dad or his brother or cousin or something for the first time, and then he wasn't there and all you saw was a really cool baseball game? That'd be a huge letdown.
Yep.
Because the relationship you have, even just as an outsider knowing the situation, with the main character, with the soldier, with the cancer-free patient, like is so strong. That's the goal. And so I'm going to finish the point I made earlier, talking about where high churches can go wrong. This is a really easy shot to take because we don't look like them that much. But don't worry, I'm coming for us. The way high churches can go wrong and have bad worship services is when one of two things happens. One, it becomes about the items.
Yeah. The articles.
And it doesn't matter if your eyes are open to God because we did liturgical karaoke right. We sang the right words at the right pitch in the right order.
Yep.
God must be happy with us.
Doesn't matter if I see him or not. It's a math equation, so now we get the solution.
The other way they can go wrong is when the service goes over people's heads.
Yeah.
And they need some miracle from God to understand that they're relating with God. And not that they're doing a bunch of detached.
Different things they don't understand.
Yeah. So that's one reason I'm not a huge fan of the traditional Latin Mass. Not because it's not beautiful, but because nobody knows Latin.
Yeah.
And I don't think the traditional Latin Mass was made. Now, it was practiced this way for 1,000 years. We could have a conversation about this later. It's kind of one of the main points of the Reformation. But I don't think the traditional Latin Mass was made originally so that nobody could understand it. It was made for the church in Rome, where they spoke Latin at that time.
Absolutely.
And so, like, it's frustrating to me to see what a beautiful gift that 100% misses, like, directly communicating to people that God is with them. Now people can appreciate it, enjoy it. And if you know Latin, that's all the better for you. And I'm not saying it's void of any meaning or power. That would just be me making the opposite error.
Yeah.
But if you can't participate with it, if the priest is doing the worship for you, you're not doing the relationship with God.
You're just observing
through the service. You're watching, and that's the same argument and issue that people take with some of the big church modern stuff. It's like, oh, it's just a spectator sport. Yeah, so is the traditional Latin Mass for most English speakers.
Comes the opposite direction, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the easiest one to take a pot shot.
It's not facilitating your relationship with God in that moment.
Yeah.
Okay. So wouldn't it be a shame if you came to church looking for God and all you got was an hour-long Latin monologue and a priest doing worship for you?
And all you got was smoke machines and modern worship.
Yes.
And yeah.
For the middle tradition.
Not that anything wrong with smoke machines.
No. Smoke machines are not so powerful that they stop God from working or make God do something.
Yep.
Same way that incense, which is the ancient smoke machine, burning incense and having the incense smoke and waft through the room.
Latin services can have moments that are completely miraculous and God does amazing things.
They aren't magical in that they make God do something or make him not, but they aren't hospitable to most English speakers. Okay. Second thing, churches that are mainline Reformation churches or
just more of a modern experience too. I would just say
they can still look very liturgical, or the North Point Life Church kind of churches, and thinking that the sermon is the best thing.
Yeah,
they can go wrong in making the sermon the main character of the service, or making you the main character. Not that you're the supporting role. God isn't the main character by himself, and nobody else matters. God has decided that you're a supporting character and that you matter, and that's why you matter, even in the worship service.
Yep.
But the moment that you think that church is about information retention, it's about education and learning, and it's not about getting closer to the God you're learning about, you've messed church up.
Yeah.
You've done wrong in how you didn't have a good service. It's not because you are saying untrue things, but it's because you're pointing to this education, this knowledge will validate me before God someday when God's standing right there.
Or that faith can be logically figured out.
Yes,
rather than having
so back to the soldier coming home. Oh, I'm reading the army. I don't know enough about this. So I'm making something up. But I'm reading the army soldier's handbook or something. That way, my soldier will be happy. They're standing right there.
Yeah,
you could not make them less happy in that moment because you are ignoring them for the sake of education. And this even goes for altar call kind of stuff. For they weren't angry enough at me in the service and I didn't feel convicted about my sin.
Yeah.
Well, you are a sinner. Are you going to hang out with the Savior ever?
Yeah.
Now, I think we also do wrong when we paint Jesus wrongly or God in general, the Trinity wrongly by painting him in the image we want him to be in. He's super chill about sin. Frankly, he doesn't even care. Just ignore that Bible stuff. Yeah, that's also super wrong because you're meeting the soldier who's coming home and it's a stunt double.
Yep.
That's wrong. That wasn't a good worship service.
Yeah.
So do you see where we're going with this? All these traditions can have good worship services.
Oh, yeah.
They can be good churches and all of them can be bad churches or have bad worship services. I'm saying that too lightly and I'm regretting it. I don't want anybody to come away thinking... I was at this one service, that church is bad and evil and wicked and nothing good happens there in God. But if you're evaluating, I don't feel like church happened today because the sermon was short or it was all about me and doing whatever. Okay. Was God a part of that service? Okay. And then the last tradition I want to get to really quick, which is the emotional, usually more charismatic or Pentecostal, usually more music driven kind of churches. The same thing about the sermon, about the education, about the confrontation with you, but about music and emotions. Wouldn't it be a shame if you showed up to church looking for God and all you found was a short-term emotional euphoria?
Yeah.
And then you went to Applebee's.
Yeah.
And those emotions can't save you. Those emotions can't make you belong. They can give you the feeling of belonging for a minute, but they won't help you belong through any hard season.
No,
they won't help you belong.
Solution. They're not a long-term connection.
Yeah. So does it make sense? What the point I'm getting at?
Yeah.
So part of the onus of was church good today is on you.
Oh, and
not you, Trevor, the preacher, but on you, the listener.
That's what I found over I was going to say that was going to be my takeaway. Was
it's not our fault. It's your fault. I've just
found that the perfect service with the perfect invitation, the perfect level of teaching the performative production. I have been in those, and I have walked away going, well, that was dry. And not because there wasn't an opportunity, but just because I wasn't open to really, I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to do it.
You showed up to Thanksgiving and ate nothing.
And I've gone to some services that were about as cringe and difficult and clunky, not quite as Latin. All right. But it felt like English Latin, like where you're just like, this is not helpful for me to be. But I remember one specifically being in a very older church, not a style that I was used to, with a group of people that were not very talented, and I just was reading the hymn below the one we were singing. I just remember very specifically reading the words and being like, dang. And then looking at the date and being like, this was written 100 years ago, and this guy feels the exact same way that I feel right now. I'm like, this is just modern Psalms. And then you look and you're like, oh, this is based on Psalm, whatever. And you're like, no, my gosh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I just remember having like this whole, like, I'm not paying attention to anything they're doing on stage. I'm not really listening to, but I'm completely meeting God in that moment.
And that was your own faith being open to welcoming God in that moment, and your own faith not being open at that actually well-produced, hospitable service that you just refused to be a part of. I had a similar experience at a small church in the Dalles, Oregon, where my friend Trevor, Trevor,
U.S. 10-year-old AAU Bambino state championship there when I was 10. So just so you know.
Amen.
The Dalles.
The Dalles, Oregon. And it was an old church, bricks and some stained glass and whatever. And the worship leader got up there, and it's just this like older lady, like probably retired, pretty peppy and kind of cringe in that way a little bit. Just like, this isn't Elevation. This isn't Hillsong or whatever.
Yeah.
Got on this rinky-dink piano. And she, in her attitude, was so thankful to God through some old, dusty songs that I didn't care about that much. And her faith, her openness to what God could be doing and what God had done in her life helped me like find God and worship in that service. And it was like one of my favorite worship services to date. I've been in church every year, every Sunday for 31 years, pretty much. Maybe I was sick a time or two or something, but like I haven't missed a service. That's one of my favorites. And it was weird and cringe and whatever. But this lady, she had met God. And so when she walks in and is leading us in worship, I was like, oh, I know that guy.
Yeah.
That God that you're talking about?
I know.
Yes. So like that, I've never led worship like that.
Yeah.
But she had an attitude around her hospitality for the congregation there that was like, you need to meet God more than you need to meet me.
And maybe this will help like pull this all together, at least from my side of things. And maybe you can have a closing word or two but whenever I'm currently in a service, maybe it's because I'm a pastor's kid. Maybe it is because I've been in church since I have pictures since I was like 8 days old.
Yeah.
And like
So you missed it on day one?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, sinner.
My bad. But I have this like moment more than ever where I can tell whether or not I've opened myself up to being ready to meet with God.
Yeah.
And it is not something that happens on accident. It's not something that you can just go in, and maybe it is somebody's authenticity and their faith that opens it up. Maybe it is the song and the spirit, and maybe it is the words of somebody that's teaching something. Maybe it is the Bible and we're reading something. Maybe it is just a silence that cracks the door. But there is almost always, if I'm in a service where I feel like God shows up and that I actually remember what we're there for, and I have a moment, there's almost always a time where I have to go, oh, there you are.
Yeah.
You've been there the whole time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've really given you space.
Yeah.
And is this what you really want to say? Or maybe I need to be quiet for a second and listen to what you want to say. And then there's always this moment where I'm just kind of like, everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Truly, like I'm about to stand on stage in front of hundreds of people. I'm about to, do whatever I need to do behind the scenes or take care of 1,000 things. And I'm like, I could leave right now and be whole. I could be dead right now and I'd be fine. And I don't like to make it like a super experiential thing. I really do feel it's more of that belonging, connection.
Relationship
scene.
is experiential.
Yes. And it's not just a feeling, though, that like when I leave, I'm like, oh, well, that was good. Now I'm back to No, I
feel so much better now.
Feel connected, John 15 style thing to something that is larger than myself.
Yeah. I just think that is so much more powerful than somebody did the right thing. So to peel back this service planning thing a little bit, there's something I've been doing for the last year and a half as we lead into the sermon in service that is exactly from this idea of talking about, wouldn't it be a shame if I showed up to find God and all I found was anything we're doing. The way I've been praying and instructing other people to pray into the sermon is in line with a Russian Orthodox, roughly Catholic, roughly Anglican thing they do in their services called the prayer of illumination. It's not magical. It's just a good idea for trying to find God in services. But the idea behind it is the Jesus who healed eyes and ears to help people see and hear physically is the same God, the same power of God that can open our eyes spiritually to the lifted up into heaven, experience all that stuff brought back down. To the we are not on Mount Sinai, but we are coming to Mount Zion, where the heavenly Jerusalem and all this stuff. Where like if you're attuned to it, if you're led to that place, and then your faith submits to hearing God through that thing, hopefully you hear Trevor's sermon. And as good as Trevor did, or as bad as Trevor did, or as long as he went, or as short as he went, none of those things matter. If God spoke through him to you, through the scriptures to you, mission accomplished.
Yep.
But we don't want to just put out garbage sermons or untrue sermons. And it doesn't mean this stuff doesn't matter, but it means it doesn't matter if that main thing isn't there. It doesn't matter how well Trevor preaches or I sing or what songs I pick or anything like that. If God is functionally absent. And so that's one of the reasons I love praying like that, to be ready to listen to what God is trying to say. The moments of silent prayer, communion, whatever, these moments where like we haven't scheduled out every minute of the service to where God isn't allowed or scheduled to play any part in the service.
I agree.
The silent listening prayer. We don't have any control over what he's saying to people or not saying or drawing their ears to listen to or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the beauty of it. It's like we let go of control for at least like a minute. I don't know.
And it's inviting people to take ownership of that kind of side of their relational faith. And I think that's part of our discussion is trying to create opportunities inside our services continually and consistently where the opportunity as healthy and as undisruptively as we can make it, but also as sincerely as we can make it, is there for them to have a chance to meet with a God that knocks on everyone's heart and asks if they could come in and that truly wants to meet with them again. And that's the revelation idea that's waiting for them. This is the city. This
is 1 Corinthians 13, which I brought up like 14 times in the past month and a half.
Notice that I didn't quote it on Sunday.
Thank you so much. But 1 Corinthians 13 talks about love and how much better love is than everything else.
Yep.
And in context, it's love in the context of worship, of gathered worship services. And love is relational.
Yep.
It's between a subject and an object. Direct object and whatever. It's between a giver and a recipient.
A noun and a verb. I'm sorry.
If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but don't have love between myself and God, which will lead me to love of my neighbor, which is everybody, then I'm nothing. If I've given away everything I have to the poor, an allusion to the rich young ruler who said, I've done every part of the law. What should I do? And Jesus says, just sell all your stuff and give it to the poor. And he went away sad. Well, if I do even that, assuming I'm perfect in every way, but I don't have a loving relationship with God, I got nothing going on.
I know Will had mentioned that they just came off the high school retreat and Chase had taught the idea of the cross as like the relational component. And I really think that's the healthy thing we're trying to say is oftentimes we try to the horizontal is what we try to fix, so then our vertical with God will be better.
Yeah.
And Chase, I think rightly so, and the way that we would see it is, no, is get the vertical right, and then God will flow into the horizontal into your life. It's like the more you stay connected with God, the more God helps you take care of this, rather than us trying to fix all this so then this will be fixed. And I think the services are intended to invite people in to connect with God so that they leave, like you said, with a mission to let that pour into their whole life.
Last thing, we don't have perfect services.
No. Oh my gosh, no.
If you've gone through this episode thinking, man, they know so much, they're so smart, they're giant brains, oh my gosh, they must have perfect services. Nope.
No, and I will tell you this
Far from perfect the last 2 weeks especially.
I have more times where I see 2 Corinthians 12 than I do anything here. My power is made perfect in your weakness. And I'm like, all right, well, there's more proof that God's showing up than it
God's
is
power
me.
is more perfect this week than last week.
I'm just like, and it is like a Foxhole Friends type thing after 2 services these days where we both look at each other like, we did it, right? We did the thing.
I only took 3 bullets this service.
Yes. I'm only bleeding out on one leg. Let me get this tourniquet off. But God is good, and I want you to know if you're listening to this and you're someplace where maybe things have been hard or maybe church hurt has come from, and you thought that the service was really the thing that was maybe causing the problems, you may be right that wasn't a perfect cultivation of the opportunity, but you're also wrong that God can meet you right where you're at. And so
and the tough part is God can work through those services that were terrible for you for the benefit of other people. That doesn't mean everybody's perfect, but like
I heard a poet the other day. I don't even think I've told you this, but
probably not.
The truth of the grass is greener on the other side is not a lie. It's not a lie because those that believed it was true went over there and they died. But that's why the grass is green on the other side. It's not a lie, but they died because it's not true. So it is true, but it is a lie. That's the reason the grass is green on the other side.
Like their bodies are
their bodies decayed and died, and that's why the grass is green on the other side. It's not because it was true. It's because they believed it was, and it was, but it's not. And I was like, ooh. And so I think there is a level of like comparison kills joy. Comparison can kill peace. Just recognize that God may be calling you to cultivate a heart of worship, a heart of trust, a heart of relationship, right where you're planted with the people you're with, and that goes with you no matter where you go. And so just keep that humility at the center of it.
Also, don't forget the church is a group of people.
Yeah.
And your church is a group of people that make up part of the church. And so did we have church today could also equally be talking about, did I talk to Mark Duncan after church?
Yeah.
As much as it's talking about, was the sermon talking about Hosea and bring out a word I never knew and et cetera?
Very rarely.
Or was it super emotional?
Do I talk about Kingsway as a service? Just very rarely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell people we have the best services. What I would tell them was we have a really good church. And that has nothing to do with
the best church.
service.
Way better than everybody else's.
Yeah.
Mid services, but no.
Well, as always, thank you for listening. And if you want to hit the like button or share it, that's amazing. Leave us a review.
And wouldn't it be a shame if you guys showed up to this podcast and all you found was an empty comments section? Let us know what you thought about the. Okay. I'm just kidding.
I love the plug. Check out some other options. There's lots of discussions around different things just like this. Finding your church home, understanding the maybe even the denominations. We had a couple of those discussions not that long ago. And until next time, have a great and glorious time on the Lord. We'll see you later.
See ya.